Hey everyone, I'm Jay Shear, and welcome to Business Minds Coffee Chat. The goal of this show is to share insights, help to lift and inspire others, and deliver practical, meaningful, and actionable content. Are you struggling to reach your audience and share your message? What does it mean to build meaningful impact and influence today? Well, get your notebooks ready. Our guest started out in academia teaching chemistry and biochemistry. She had a successful career in the biopharmaceutical industry, developing life-saving medications until the economic downturn of 2008, when she decided to give it all up to follow her passion for coaching, problem solving, and helping others achieve their dreams. She's a business relationship and leadership coach, influence mastery advisor, speaker, mindfulness practitioner, and a 10-time #1 international best-selling author whose books have been endorsed by the likes of Brian Tracy, Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank, and two-time Olympian Sherry Wynn. She's worked with thousands of entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and leaders from a variety of industries, helping them play full out, experience the joy of impacting others, and achieve success. Please welcome Divya Parekh.
Jay, it's a privilege to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I'm grateful for you and thank you very much for being here. So let's dive right in. We were talking a little bit before we started, and I really have enjoyed researching you and getting to know you on a deeper level. And the thing that just enthralled me was that you go deep in so many different interesting areas. So if you will, could you take us back to where you were raised and what were some of the early experiences that influenced the work that you're doing today?
Mm. So, I'm from India and had a very normal, happy childhood. Blessed to say that, had great parents. And I remember challenging my parents, and I'm sure folks as a child, you all have done too. We had a lot of really good tropical trees, and I remember taking my book and climbing up a tree and just sitting and reading. And the thing that really influenced me was my parents, and especially my dad. My dad was a tree hugger. He would not like the trees to be cut down, and he was a giver. He would help people, and he embraced people. Did not matter who it was. The social level did not matter. The person didn't matter. He was just helpful. And those are the times, sometimes he was taken for a ride, and yet his giving heart never changed. And that really, really influenced me. And, when you're young, you are more into, oh, with toys and for not stereotyping here, yet, maybe having tea parties or with dolls, or I never was into all that, more of a going out and about. And having that joy of having my dad and mom just fill us with that principles and telling us that we could be anything that we wanted. So
Mm.
there was no even distinction in my mind that I was a girl or I was a woman and I could not achieve it. And that was a blessing, especially it happens even today that you're not able to live up to it. So those things, that sky's not the limit. Go achieve things. And it's not only about yourself, it's about helping others, it's about living a full life, it's about connecting with a deeper spirituality. And yes, I do believe in God. And yes, I do believe in nature and spirit. And I do believe that we all are connected by the thread of humanity.
Mm.
Because, Jay, just like you love to be happy, just like you love to dream, you like to have success, you like to make an impact, I do the same thing. And so does the next human being. So it doesn't matter where you are on the face of the earth. It's that connected consciousness that binds us, all of us together. And so that portion, and also being encouraged to get acquainted with different religions and what everything brings, and embracing humanity as a whole. So having those principles, and also during one of our family reunions we used to have, and as kids we would just all run around and make ruckus, and one of my cousins just kind of taking us to the, how should I say, not chiding us or admonishing us, taking us and teaching us meditation. So
Hmm.
learning meditation from an early age really changed the course of my life. And so there's so many different things that impacted, but these are the few of the things that definitely became a large part of who I am today.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and you pointed out several very powerful themes there: nature, meditation, and in researching you, I've heard you speak about nature, and it seems to run congruently through a lot of your life, a lot of your teachings, and a lot of your teachings around leadership and developing others. If you will, touch on the connection that you see between nature and leadership. What are some of those lessons that you've learned through nature that you apply to leadership?
That's a great question, Jay. So, for example, when I started out coaching, and even before I started out coaching, we would be all sitting inside the rooms and having the conversation. I would say, let's have walking meetings. And what we would do is three or four of us, especially not for the large meetings, even when I was in corporate world, this is before I was introduced to coaching, we would just walk. And then as we are walking, especially having one-on-ones together to try and resolve a problem, because what happens is that everybody's coming from a different place. And as we are talking, I just kind of point at different trees and say, hey, look at that. You know, there's a hard oak, there's a pine tree, and there's a maple, and they're in that little space and still coexisting so beautifully and peacefully. How about if we took some of that learning and we went ahead and implemented in our lives? And one of the quotes that I really love is, think that do not miss out the forest for the trees. And I also flip out and say that do not miss out the trees for the forest.
Mm.
That yes, you know, it's one tree, but if you kind of go from a 30,000 foot or feet view, you look at, like, you know, what a big forest does when it comes together. All those trees come together, they're emanating oxygen. And one thing to realize is they're not looking at each other as competition. Think about the roots, right? So there's so many things from nature that we could do. So as leaders, it's about building those roots. And when you're talking about building those roots, is connecting with your people at a deeper level. Not, yes, I get it, that we gotta, as stakeholders and CEOs, you gotta make sure that the company's turning around, the shares are performing. And yet, if you were to have those strong roots with your people, putting your people first, and when you do that, those people are going to be productive, they're going to have high performance. Your goals, your personal goals, your organizational goals as a leader, I'm talking about, and your employees' goals, everything gets aligned. And think about it, that when you're rowing a boat, how did Romans conquer the whole world? They were in like little boats, you know, going, they did not even know what was going to happen. And especially in these times of crisis and unprecedented times, all we got to do is that we don't know what's to come. Row the boat together in the same direction. So if you're developing your people as a leader, you're developing yourself, and you're taking that company's goals and pulling everything together. And when you pull that in alignment, you're going to see massive results and massive success and massive impact. And I could go on, you know. So that's one of the examples I wanted to share.
So I want to switch gears for a moment. Your most recent published book, Expert to Influencer: How to Position Yourself for Meaningful Impact, it's a practical step-by-step guide to help one get their message out into the world. What was the impetus behind writing that book, Divya? And share with us, who is that book for?
The impetus. Beautiful question. So I love mentoring youngsters. I've pushed through over 650 to 700 or more students through my workshops and coaching. And as part of that, I got involved in mentoring robotics team. And as I've mentored the youth, so one thing that I've found when I mentor, and this is all pro bono, so as I've mentored the youth, the openness to experience new things and innovate and creativity and curiosity, it's so much there that it just wants to go and pull that potential out. So one of the stories that I want to share is, and probably folks, you may have heard it, but it's so dear to my heart. Our robotics team, we were doing an outreach. And as part of the outreach, because I come from a science background myself, I love to expose everyone to technology. And that does not mean that you leave, you just become so dry that it's only pure science. How about if we created that art of bringing science and spirituality together? And at the junction, we can have that intersection where those roads meet and create an impact. So similarly, we were at an outreach. And I see, young boys are coming in, they're saying there's all these robotics kids, appropriately at their level, they're just kind of jumping down, going at it and starting to build. And this girl, so there are all these boys, maybe around 7 to 8 years old, some 5 or 6 years, some 9 or 10. Here's this girl, probably 11 or 12 years old. She comes in the room and she looks around and her eyes are so lit up, and yet there is this hesitation. And I could just sense it that she wants to go sit down there and start working with those models and try it out. And yet she's hesitant. She's standing in the corner. Now she's in one corner, I'm in one corner. I just reach out to her. I ask her, what's her name? Let's just call her Linda, for confidentiality's sake.
Okay.
And I told her, Linda, do you think, it's all boys. Do you think you could help me out? And let's see if we can build a robot together here. She looked at me, just pulled her shoulders back, because now she was in a position where she's helping me. Tables have turned around. She held my hand, we sat down, and she was hesitant, but after a few minutes, just she took off like a rocket ship. She was off. And she is doing well. And then I see from the door, and of course, my kids from our robotics team were working with all these kids. And this way, they're also getting the feel of what it is to pay it forward. That it's not just about hey, you know what? I'm going to have my team. I'm going to build a robot. I'm going to go into competition, put in thousands of dollars, raise money for it, and win, and get the award, get this German thing, and walk away strongly. No, it's much more beyond that. It's about lighting that fire in the youngsters. So I see a lot of parents coming in, a little bit shy. So I tell Linda, do you think you can hold the fort down here for me? She nods. And the beauty of it is that we have barely had any conversation. So here I am, just kind of glancing over to make sure she's doing well. And she was so good that I'm like, okay, she's fine. I'm here talking to parents. And the kids are shy, talking to kids, trying to bring them to the robot so they can see what's going on. And then all of a sudden, I feel 2 arms coming and hugging me. I look down. And Jay, I'll tell you, I have gone on Yosemite, which is a national park, pitch dark. The stars in our eyes did not hold a candle to the stars in the sky. Wow. And I mean it. And that gave me the impetus to write this book. That being an influencer does not mean that you're a social media influencer with thousands of following or hundreds of followings or millions of views and millions of likes. It's about being that influencer in real life where you impact even one person, whether it's a smile to a stranger. Because another story I'll share, I'm my best TV walk every single day during this COVID-19. And when we are walking, so even if you're wearing that mask, one day when we were walking, one kid started out so chip. And he said, good morning. And something set a tone for that day. And we were smiling, and it was just such a ripple effect where people are just wishing at each other. And we came back so energized. So that's what the book is about, influencers. So that's a little bit of a spiritual aspect to it, a little bit of a nature aspect to it. When you're going to mountains, nobody's influencing anybody. Hey, look at me, rah, rah, rah. No, people are just as you are. To me, that's an influencer. To me, the definition of an influencer is a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Love that saying.
Creating that impact. And who this book is for? It's basically for CEOs, entrepreneurs, leaders primarily. And yet, folks, doesn't matter where you are at, there's a nugget for you somewhere around this. But it will help. And on top of it, the profits from this book are going to entrepreneurs, both home and abroad, who have been impacted by COVID-19.
Excellent. So one of the interesting things about this particular book, and I believe this plays out in your other books as well, is not only do you give practical advice and those step-by-step processes that you can use, but you do it through some storytelling and you give examples of how it can be applied today in this world. And I think that's very important because it's relatable through the way that you weave the information in the books. We can see ourselves in a situation the way that you explain it. So it resonates more strongly.
Yes, you're right. And think about it. So many centuries, right? We have been around. Humanity has been around. How has the knowledge been transmitted from one generation to another generation?
Stories.
The language came in bit later. It's through stories. And as you saw, as I was sharing, story of Linda, or story of my dad, or story of my bestie walking through, stories stick. And everyone has a story, Jay. You have a story. I'm always curious to learn about it, because think about it. You bring your unique set of experiences. That's what makes you unique. And as you're sharing your story, remember, on a continuum, folks, there will be people who may be ahead of you, and there will be people always who are probably behind you on your journey. So never underestimate the power of your story, because somebody somewhere is looking for that answer that you have reached.
So I want to talk about emotional intelligence for a moment. You wrote another book that you titled The 7 Simple Steps to Emotional Intelligence. So share with us, if you will, for those that may not know, what is emotional intelligence and how does it impact our lives?
So I'm going to take a whole new definition to emotional intelligence in the context of our today's day and day situation that's happening. We don't know where we are going. And there was another study that has come out, or some another news, that there may be another virus on the horizon. So what happens is that situations outside, everybody's at home. We are not in our old normal. So let's look at 3 things. One was the old normal. Then today we are in our new normal, where things are very much uncertain. Of course, uncertainty has been part of life throughout. We don't know meteor is going to strike us. We don't know when the hurricane is going to come, or a fire is going to happen, or there is going to be an earthquake. So yes, and then there's going to be the next normal. So that said, if we look at the situation, everything looks all doom and gloom, but it's not the case. Now, what happens is that if we shift the focus from all that doom and gloom, and what we say is that, okay, so to say goodbye to doom and gloom, we have to say hello to it. And now when I'm talking about saying hello to it is, you gotta understand that fear you're experiencing. You gotta experience the discomfort and look at it in its entirety. So emotional intelligence to me is not just managing emotions. It's about also managing empathy. It's also about looking at your fear. It's looking at your feelings. So emotions is one thing, right? So trigger happens. Going a little bit technical here, folks. Okay. Let's say there's a loud noise. Immediately you're going to either get startled or something's going to happen. Trigger happens, your brain releases chemicals. Within 6, they're very short-lived. And those chemicals, those are emotions. And then those create feelings and thoughts, and don't want to bore you guys. But what happens is that you have that trigger effect in your whole body. And now not only it's your mind, but your brain and your whole body, and you're impacted at the cellular level because these hormones and chemicals are being released. So if you have the intelligence, and I say it's not only to be managing emotions, also to have that empathy and compassion, taking it one step forward. And when you pull that together, so even in the times of doom and gloom, yes, it is, you'll be able to take a look at it and say, yes, this is what it is. You'll accept it. You'll not throw it under the rug and bury your hand in the sand like an ostrich. You'll look at it. Yes, this is. You'll let yourself feel those emotions. You'll let yourself experience that discomfort, anger, frustration, whatever it is. You look it in the eye and you walk through it. And after walking through it, you'll realize that you can look at the situation in a different way. You can handle it. You can cope with it. You can handle that stress. So to me, that's what emotional intelligence is. To me, it's about shifting the focus, first focusing on whatever you're experiencing and then coming through it. And after you have come through it, then taking your focus from me, flip the M, it becomes we. And the minute you flip the focus, this brain has been designed so powerfully, Jay. We are blessed to have this wonderful piece of complicated machinery gifted to us by nature, God, whoever we want to call the force. That once you shift the focus, you'll find that it gets distracted. It's really easy to train it and create those new neural connections, folks. And when you are looking out how you can help others, just I shared the story of Linda. Rather than going from being, I need help, think about how can I help? Take out the word should. How could I help others? Rather than, oh, how I should manage my emotions. I should do this. I should do that. No. How could you do something for somebody else? And that's a very small insight in emotional intelligence, given the time we have.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Is this an area where meditation plays a role in your life to be able to listen to your thoughts and be a bit more self-aware?
Absolutely. And folks, you may say that meditation is juju and out there. It's not. If anybody is interested, I can send you study after study after study, the physiological benefits that we receive. Meditation is just looking at the situation and being with it and giving yourself that break, bringing that acceptance in and allowing yourself and giving yourself that permission to release and let go of that resistance.
Let's talk about mindset for a moment. So how does mindset play a role in your life?
Mindset, I call it unstoppable mindset. And to me, unstoppable mindset is that accepting things as they are. Accepting does not mean giving up. Accepting does not mean that you take a back seat in your life. Accepting means staying in the driver's seat and accepting the road that you're going to be traveling on. Now, that road could have potholes. You have done nothing about it. And yet you got to deal with it. And it's about having that desire to play full out, knowing that life, folks, it's one life to live. And having that mindset, oh, I can either live this life feeling sorry for myself, and there's nothing wrong with it. There might be some time when you might want to do that, and it's totally okay. But how long are you taking it? Are you taking it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? Depending on the situation, you may need that time to heal. But if you're taking it over the years, then something's not right with the situation. So mindset is having that mindfulness and compassion, and yet the tenacity and resilience to relentlessly pursue your dreams and not give up. Because when you pursue your dreams, it lights the fire in your belly that becomes a springboard to your success, folks.
How true. So, Divya, how are you processing what's happening in the world today in terms of the pandemic, and how has that impacted your business?
So we had actually 3 retreats lined up, and we were very excited. Spent almost 2 to 3 months preparing it. Everything was ready to roll. And we had a lot of people interested and ready to go, and then had some few paid speaking engagements. So whole of 2020 was booked. The projection, everything lined up, and you're feeling good, like come January, end of January, yeah, come 2020, yeah, we're going to rock it. And then COVID-19 happens. And so being in the pharmaceutical industry, I gotta say that I was better equipped than most of the people, because being a coach, and Jay, you talk about vision, values, and strategic planning, and you're bringing this message to other people. We are in a much better place than others. So looking at it, evaluating situations, sitting down with the team and partners, okay, what do we want to do? We decided to cancel our retreats early in February.
Okay.
So what that did for us is that even though our gear was totally not towards doing anything else, we took loss, but it was not phenomenal loss. So we were able to cut down on the losses, and at the same time, we were early enough into it that we were able to pivot. And then we pivoted the business because, as you mentioned, we are very fortunate to have multiple platforms. So we are still niched. When I talk about niched, is that, what message we have, and when we're talking to that audience, we are just talking to that audience, connecting them to make a meaningful impact, to make a difference. The key is that if our clients are not successful, we are not successful. To us, then it doesn't matter. It's not about just kind of getting a client. It's about getting a client who will be successful. So we were able to pivot, and the key was, what we did was looked at the business, found some low-hanging fruits, and helping to serve people. So for example, the profits from my book usually go to kiva.org anyway. They have been going through, but we upped it more. So this way, the key was to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start giving back, it garners attention. I sincerely believe what goes around comes around. And as it does, fortunately, we have been able to pull the business back up fairly well. Not only that, we have been able to help other entrepreneurs pivot their business, because what we do is that, okay, let's take a look at your business, what you already have. You don't need to change 180 degrees and change so drastically that you're investing thousands of dollars. And at this point in time, you don't need to invest all that money, right? You don't know what's going to happen next in the market. So you take it, and then you're helping others. And the key is, folks, for me, it's about how can I help my clients be successful? So for example, we have a learning management system tool. So it was for us to help all the entrepreneurial courses and leadership courses to help folks with for our higher end clients. And now we decided, okay, how can we give back to the community? What can we do? Okay. Talked with the team. Let's create a rebrandable learning management system and platform, because let's say if I'm an entrepreneur, right? I was doing one-on-one. I don't know anything about online, and I don't want to spend thousands of dollars right now, and I'm not making money. My practice has been impacted. So this is a very good solution where we are helping others, we are helping ourselves, we are helping others. It's a win-win situation.
Interesting. And is that a platform that you deliver through your website, through a web portal?
I do not share that.
Okay.
It's just by invitation only, because we want to make sure that whoever is coming in, we do have a interview and application process, because to us, as I mentioned, we want our clients to be successful. It's a partnership. And the thing is that, if people are not ready to partner, then that's something, yes, some people do not like that. And yet it's about, it's about having that core values. We believe in your success. And if you don't believe in your success, then how can we partner together? Yeah. We want you to be vested in yourself. We want you to put that stake in the ground. We want you to do what it takes to be successful. We are not here to just sell you our products and services. No. We want you to be successful. So that's why if you go outside and check on my website, you'll see some services, but you're never going to see products lined up, because to us, it's important that you are successful.
I see. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You want someone to be fully vested in the coaching and the desire and the right mindset to be successful and to take what you're sharing and to be able to put that into practice and be accountable for it.
Not only that, it also has to be someone who wants to help others. It's not just in it for themselves, because that's something, I'm very thankful to universe, whatever you want to call, is that we are in a place where we can decide who we want to work with, that we want to work with people who want to make an impact. It's not just about themselves.
Wonderful.
Now you may call it whatever you want to call it. That's one of our definitely mottos. It's not just about yourself, it's about others as well.
Well, so that ties into my next question for you. What do you value most and why?
I value mindfulness the most. And I'll share that why. Because mindfulness allows me to be human. Mindfulness allows others to be human. I'm a flawed person, Jay. I have got so many flaws that I cannot tell you. So when we talk about mindfulness, my definition of mindfulness is it's a preferred choice. It's a decision that you make to be continuously non-judgmental. And if you're thinking that you'll not be judgmental, that's not the case. But you're not judgmental about being judgmental. So it's a continued practice to be non-judgmental and be in the moment. And what it does is that when you are non-judgmental, then you are releasing expectations. And does it happen all the time? No, it's not. But you are focused. The key is that the focus is on the present, what I'm blessed with, what am I grateful for, and okay, if I fail, it's all right. I'm a human being. Because, we all are humans, right? Homo sapiens. And yet it's so hard being a human. So to me, mindfulness is being a human. And to me, being a human is very important, because when we are human, we do not dehumanize anybody else. We do not put somebody else low or high. We look at them as another human beings, and we can bring very easily that respect and compassion and help and impact to the others.
Thank you for sharing that, Divya.
Absolutely.
So let's, if you were to give a piece of advice, a tactic, a suggestion, something that our audience should be focused on, or something that they could be doing right now if they're having some specific challenges, if they're stuck and they're looking for some help, a way to adapt, some way to look to thrive today, what one or two pieces of information would you share with them?
So one of the things I would like to share is that if you are a healthcare provider, folks, we are offering some complimentary coaching sessions. You don't have to even give us your name, nothing. We listen to you, share the strategies with you. So that's just separate. And then for your audience, what I would say is that be a human. And on the days that you're not feeling good, give yourself that time to heal. And don't let perfect get in the way of progress. Mm-hmm. It's so important. And at the same time, so I would recommend three things, folks. One is be a human. And to be a human is accepting yourself as you are and accepting others as they are. The second thing, there's so much on the internet, folks. Find somebody or someone to follow, get a book, get the audiobook, or listen to a podcast, listen to some shows that brings you that energy. Because energy is finite, folks. And always remember, energy cannot be destroyed. It can be transformed. And it can neither be created or destroyed. And when we transform it, so whenever you're feeling that low, find that source of inspiration. And when you find that source of inspiration, transform it. You've experienced it, now transform it. And after transforming it, find every single day, or at least, here's what I would highly recommend is and encourage and invite you to do is find 1 hour in a month. So think about it, Jay. If everybody to give 1 hour, whether it's an extra hour to their company or 1 hour to help somebody, we are talking, let's say there are, I don't know, 180 million adults in US. And let's say if you're a senior citizen and even if you're in a wheelchair, go find somebody next to you or your caregiver. Think about it. They're tired. How could you help them? Just 1 hour in a month, folks. We are talking 180 million hours. And think about it. If all of us did that, our country would be, we would be able to turn it around and turn the humanity around. And think about it. 7 or I don't know the exact number, billion people. Every one of us put that 1 hour every month. All those hours for somebody else. Just think about it.
Powerful. And it goes back to the saying that you shared earlier, a rising tide lifts all boats. So, Divya, before I ask my last question, where can we go to engage with you, to learn more about you, and to check out your content and buy your books?
So thank you for asking me that. So you can connect with me, folks, on LinkedIn. It's Divya Parekh. And the best way to connect is I do have a free gift if you so desire to get it on my website, which is a newer website for entrepreneurs. It's www.entrepreneur.divyaparekh.com. And for my books, folks, if you type in my name or put in the name of my book, Expert to Influencer, How to Position Yourself for Meaningful Impact on Amazon. And you'll see all my books over there. And I would only say that if you get my book, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart because the profits are helping entrepreneurs who are impacted by COVID-19. Thank you so much, Jay.
Perfect. Thank you. And we'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. So, Divya, here's my final question to you. What is one of the most valuable, unexpected lessons you've learned from the work you do with your clients?
So I'll share, this was in the early stages of my coaching. And as far as coaching is concerned, if you go and look up a definition of a coach is, helping somebody move from point A to point B, having some goal setting and supporting them and non-judgmental and all that. Mm-hmm. So this is somebody let's call her Leslie or Linda, we'll just stick with name Linda and then somebody else named John. So that it so happened in that year, gentleman and a woman, something happened at work. So with Linda, her boss was just out to get her. It was because she took a stance where she opposed him consistently. So he blasted out at her in a meeting, rejecting her idea. And she felt that he was out there to get him. Now let's put John in another situation. So John had a woman boss and she was very, very strong. And sometimes what happens is we compensate for thinking like, what the world perceives us in a way that we compensate for it and we lose our authenticity. And he felt intimidated. He felt that he was just being dehumanized. And we're not going to bring any race, color, nothing. These are just human beings, folks. And the reason I'm talking about both genders is that it's critically important that we bring people to the table, have that critical conversation, have those hard conversations. It's not going to be easy. Never going to be easy. And so here it was, oh, my boss was a guy, he is like X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to go over here. And here's a guy, oh, she's a lady, and then X, Y, and Z, just because she's, and there were similarities in both the bosses. It had got nothing to do with race. It had got nothing to do with color. It had got nothing to do with gender. Similarity. So I talked with both of my clients and I said, would you all be open to sharing it with each other? Because as a coach or a consultant, you're bound by the confidentiality. Did not give them each other's names, nothing. And what I found was that when a person is in a situation where their emotions are running so high, you cannot sit and tell them, oh, yeah, let's talk about today's goals. It's about creating that space. It's creating that sacred space of trust where they know that you have their utmost interest at heart, where you're there as a caring guide, where you're going to support them no matter what. That even if they're having a bad day, it's not like taking them to task. No, 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 no. You gotta be feeling good. Allowing that space for them to heal, allowing that space to lean into discomfort, allowing the space to grow. They agreed. So we had a group conversation, and interestingly, when they both talked, they're like, oh yeah, my boss is like that, my boss is like that. And I was scribing for them, and we put it out on a wall. They're like, So the perception that we have, the way our brains are conditioned is so impactful. We don't realize what lens are we looking through. How are we looking at a situation, and what lens are we wearing? My brain's been conditioned through this societal expectations, and these are the stereotypes, and this is what it is. And I'm as how should I say, I'm like anybody else, and I still have the keys. I just keep on working on it. I keep working on it continuously. And you will be surprised. They were laughing at the end of it. Oh, it's just a boss. And when they went back into the arena, they were ready to tackle because I am being attacked. That was gone from the perception. How can I manage the situation? That came into being. And when you're managing the situation, how can I manage my boss? How can I manage whether it's a he or she? They became actually on good terms, not buddies, but pretty good terms. And then they figured out that, hey, their bosses were just authoritarian, old school people. It didn't matter who they were. And they moved on. So what I've learned is that our perceptions, the lens that we look through, is so critical. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we believe in. So it's really important. And that brings us back to mindfulness. How can we have a lens that's not touched by the rosiness or by the conditions before? And it's a continuous practice. For me, it'll be till the day I die. And I just am going to continue working on it and being a better human being every single day. And does it mean that I'll not be bad some of the days, or that will mean that I'm not going to fall some of the days? Hey, I'm going to fall, and it's all right.
Beautiful. It's a valuable lesson. And thank you. I appreciate you sharing that, Divya.
Oh, absolutely.
So I wanted to thank you so very much for joining us today. I truly do appreciate it. I'm grateful for you. And as I said earlier, when you and I were talking off camera, I really do look forward to deepening our relationship, getting to know each other better, and figuring out ways that we can support each other and support a larger community. So thank you for making the commitment to being here today and sharing of your knowledge and your experience and your books, your writings, and all the wonderful things that you do. I truly do appreciate it.
And thank you, Jay, for what you're doing, because think about it. You're sharing the message, you're taking the time, it's time from your time. So I really appreciate you. I really appreciate people who are spreading positivity, where so many times, when you're on news or social media, you see all these hate bursts and tantrums. It's really important that we all come together and recognize each other as human beings. So thank you for the work you're doing. It was a privilege and honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you. And for the rest of you, thank you very much for watching. And if you found value in this episode, you know what to do. Go ahead and like and share, and also subscribe to this channel. And until next time, stay healthy and optimistic. Keep learning and growing. And remember that transformative change in your life and business always begins with you, and absolutely nothing happens until you take action. We'll see you on the next episode of Business Minds Coffee Chat.